Saintignan in the air, deep right field. Home run. In the air into center field. A diving catch by Hallie Saintignan.
It's the first pitch she gets. Hallie Saintignan does it again!
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of In the Box with me. I'm your host, Hallie Saintignan, and in this podcast, I'm going to be bringing you the good, the bad, the ins and outs of college athletics that most people don't see from the outside. This podcast is going to be reaching out to really any athlete, male or female, who is in any stage in their life. If you are in your recruiting process in high school, trying to find somewhere to play, etc., all the way to if you're in college right now and you're trying to find the courage to transfer, or you're in play at a junior college and you're trying to get up to the big leagues, or really just anywhere, any walk in your college athletic life, or even if you're just somebody who just likes college athletics and just wants to see what really goes on in our lives. This podcast really is for everyone. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right into this first episode, and I just want to preface this by saying there is somewhere for everyone to play any college athletics, any sport, any college sport. There is a place for everyone. There's a lot of people out there that say, not everyone's built for college athletics. Like, not everyone can go play. There's a place for everyone in college athletics, whether that is at an NAIA, a junior college, a D3, a D2, a D1. There is somewhere for everyone to play. And I just want to also say that by me telling my story to how I got where I am today, I am in no way judging or putting down anybody for playing at any level that they're at. I am solely just telling my story and how I got where I am today. So to start this off, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Hallie Saintignan. I'm from a little town in North Louisiana. I am a fifth-year senior this year thanks to COVID. Currently, I am at Tarleton State University, and that is where I will graduate and be an alumni. But it took a while to get here. It's been a long road to get where I am today and to be as happy as I am today. When I was in high school, I had, I would say personally, a slower recruiting process than others. I didn't commit as early as other people, which now, with the rule change of having to be, I think, in your junior year to go on visits and stuff now and commit, which I think is incredible, overly amazing. But whatever the rules are now with recruiting, it was not like that whenever I was recruiting. So I was going through my recruiting process like 6 or 7 years ago, really 8. That's whenever kids were committing at 14 and 15 years old to go play at these big schools, like LSU in Florida. They're fighting over this left-handed 14-year-old pitcher that's throwing in the 60s, and they're fighting over this kid that they don't even know how to drive yet. They don't know what kind of kid they're going to be after they graduate high school. They could not even love the sport anymore, which I think is a huge reason why they've made that rule change now. But I think that rule change is definitely for the better. So when I was in high school getting recruited, I had a lot of friends that were popping up, committing to all these big schools, like in South Louisiana and other places. And I just felt like I was really behind, and I was always told whenever I was a kid that, I was too small, I wasn't big enough to play college softball. I was fast, but I was little. I was never going to play first base, which obviously I don't now. But, I just had a lot of negative talk when I was a kid from just coaches and and people like that just being negative that really don't even know what college athletics is probably even about anymore, honestly, So, I was a smaller kid, which I'm still small, but as we have learned in the past couple of years, if you watch the Women's College World Series, softball is the best freaking sport because it does not matter your body type. You can be super tiny and skinny and be super, super fast, and there's a place for you on someone's team because they want speed. If you're a bigger built girl who can hit the ball 400 feet, there's a place for you on somebody's team. We have learned in the past few years that softball is such an open sport for every body type, and I just love that because not every sport's like that. So whenever I was a kid, I always just had that negative talk a lot from coaches and older people, and it really affected me a lot in my head. I always told myself, I'm not good enough to go to these big D1s. So in my recruiting process, I strictly focused on emailing like smaller schools, D2s. I personally didn't want to play D3 because of the money. Obviously, you can't get athletic scholarships. So my goal was like, oh, I'm going to go play the D2 or just something like that. Well, I ended up going to an LSU Alexandria camp one time, and the coach had a lot of interest in me. So I kept going back, and I really liked the school, and I liked the area. It was close enough to home, but also far enough away. And I kept going to camps and meeting other girls that also wanted to play there and stuff, and growing those friendships and stuff like that. And then finally, Coach Robbie Tate, who's now at McNeese, amazing guy. He finally came up to me and he was like, hey, so, you want to come on a visit here? Like, I'd really like to talk money with you and this and that and see what I can do to get you on my team. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm down. For me back then, I didn't realize that NAIA was, I knew it wasn't NCAA, but I had never really heard much of NAIA. So I just, in my head, I'm like, oh, it's just another, athletic association in college. Didn't think anything of it. Which also goes back to my ignorance of college athletics whenever I was that young. And my parents weren't ever college athletes or anything, so my dad was a water sport guy. My mom, she's just really fit, just likes to work out and stuff, So they always supported me, though, with all my dreams and everything. So they were just along for the ride, They didn't know about college athletics. They didn't know how to guide me the right way. I mean, they did the best that they could with what we knew or what they knew, And I don't fault them at all for anything, but all that being said, I was like, heck yeah, the school wants me. So I go down for a visit. I was so excited and just so over the moon. I didn't even talk to my parents completely about it, committing there. And I was on my visit, and by the end of the visit, I was just like, yeah, I want to come here. I'm going to commit. And I got in the car afterwards, and my parents were like, what are you doing? We didn't talk about this. If this is what you really want, then yeah, go for it. We support you, but girl, we gotta talk things out a little bit before, But so definitely a little ignorance there, but it's funny looking back at it now. But the summer before my junior year is whenever I committed there, and NAIA has different signing rules, obviously, because they're completely different athletic association. But I signed, I'm pretty sure, the fall of my junior year. I could be completely wrong on that timeline. But it was during my junior year of high school. So I signed there. So that next summer, Coach Tate, he was like, hey, I have this tournament team that I get some of my girls to play on before they come in, and I would love for you to come play on this travel ball team with me this summer. And I was like, yeah, cool, heck yeah, let's do it. So I get on that travel ball team, and in the very last, halfway through the summer, Coach Tate was actually the assistant coach. I probably should have said that earlier, but usually the assistants do most of the recruiting. But the head coach for LSUA, he ended up going back home to New Mexico, where he was from, to head coach a school over there. And so a lot of the girls we were all going in to play at LSUA that upcoming fall, we were like, well, are they going to hire Coach Tate as head coach? Our plan was if they hired Coach Tate as a head coach, we were all going to stay, and that's where we were going to be. Well, fast forward a month, where I'm on my way to my very last summer ball tournament, ever, and Coach Tate calls me and he goes, hey, kid, so we just got word this morning that the athletic department is not going to hire back any of us existing coaches. So you can still stay at LSUA. They're still going to reward all of you the scholarships that you've been offered and what you've signed for, or we have 2 days to get you re-recruited. And y'all, my heart just dropped. It sunk to the floor. I was like, well, what's the plan? What do you think I should do? He said, since you are coming in the fall, we've got to work hard these next 2 days, really getting you recruited again, if that's what you want. He's like, talk to your parents, take whatever time you need, and call me back and let me know. And I was like, okay. Which I knew my answer right there. I didn't want to play for a coach I had never met before. And then I'm also talking to my mom who's driving me, and she's like freaking out because she can't hear the conversation on the phone. She's like, what's going on? He said, we've got 2 days to get me re-recruited if that's what I wanted to do. And she was like, well, is that what you want to do? I said, I don't want to play for somebody I've never met or don't know and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I understand. So I called Coach Tate back. It was like a 4-minute conversation. So I called him back like almost immediately. And I was like, yeah, like, I don't want to play for somebody I've never met. Do you think that it's possible for me to get re-recruited? Like, what are your thoughts? And he was like, 100%, I've got you. Don't worry. He was like, I've got you. And he just kept saying that, like, I've got y'all, I've got y'all, I've got y'all. And he did. I walked in the hotel about an hour and a half later, and he was like, all right, this is so-and-so, 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 so-and-so from all these different schools. He had like 4 or 5 college coaches already in the lobby waiting for me when I got there. And that was such just a relief off my shoulders, just like a huge breath of fresh air, like he really does have me. And so all these coaches are talking to me, one at a time. Like it was like speed dating almost. And that was the most coach interaction and contact I've ever had, like even like to my prior recruiting process. And I think that's whenever I realized that I was better, like a lot better than I thought I was. So after that tournament, me and my mom, we had like this little like college visit, like little tour almost. But we left straight from the tournament that weekend to go visit one college, and then straight from there to go visit another. And then what ended up happening was none of the coaches that he introduced me to, I didn't go play for any of them. So my best friend back home, Sarah Petrie, she was already signed to go play at Southern Arkansas University, which is a D2 in Magnolia, Arkansas. She was like, hey, I'm going to text my coach and see what he needs, like if he has space for you. She texted him, and he was like, well, like, what does she got? Like, where she play? Da-da-da. And he was like, I'd love to at least have her in for a visit and, like, talk to her. So I sent Coach Tate those messages and his information, and he was like, oh, I know him. Let me call him. So he called Coach Anderson, and I just talked to him, and then Coach Anderson texted me after that, and he was like, hey, kid, I'd love to have you in for a visit. I was like, okay, awesome. So me and my mom left from, I think we were at Delta State. I think we were visiting Delta State the day before, and he was like, when can you come in? Y'all, it was only an hour and 15 minutes away from my house, and I had no idea. So me and my mom were like looking, like, okay, where's this place? And I was like, we were like, oh, we can be there tomorrow, like at noon, because we didn't realize how close it was to our house. And so the next day we drove home from Delta State that evening. And then the next morning we got up, we drove to Southern Arkansas. Loved the campus, beautiful campus. Loved the field, everything about it. And like something about there just like felt like, okay, this is where I need to be. And it was crazy because all like through my recruiting process, I didn't want to go close to home. I didn't want to be close to home as I lived in a little small town. I wanted to get away, get somewhere bigger. So I really fell in love with the campus and fell in love with everything they had to offer. But I mean, obviously I was keeping all my other options in mind. I wasn't just going to jump right in like I did last time and just commit, because I had a lot of options to weigh out. And which obviously, like I said, was a big concern for me at first. It was like 2 weeks before school was starting. So I knew coaches weren't going to have a lot of money left. Coach Anderson was awesome. He scrounged up as much money as he could to get for me. And I mean, Southern Arkansas is a ridiculously affordable school to go to. They literally pride themselves in being like one of the cheapest colleges. So went back, took a few days, prayed about it, talked to my parents about it a lot. And then I was stressing about it so hard. My mom was like, you need to clear your head, get out of here for a little bit, just go do something, and just live. So I texted my friend Sarah. She lived 3.5 hours away. So I went down south to visit for a day just to clear my head. And that, like, it really opened my eyes. It really gave me my answer. Just going and clearing my head and thinking about it all. Really not thinking about it all. But, like, on my drive down there, like, I had my answer. Like, I was so back and forth about where do I need to go? Like, what's best for my family financially? What's best for me as a player and this and that. when I walked up to Sarah's front door, I knocked on the door, and when I saw her, I was like, yep, I'm going to Southern Arkansas. Like, I just knew it. So the next day, I go back home, and I met my parents. They were eating dinner, so I met them at dinner, and I walked in, and I was like, I sat down. I said, I know what I want to do. Like, I've made my decision. And they're like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to go to SAU. Like, I want to play with Sarah some more. Like, I think that I have a really good shot at my college career there. And I don't know why I picked SAU. The odds were very against SAU. He told me that, like, he had an outfield already, and his team was all big hitters. Like, if anybody knows about Southern Arkansas, you know that they are 100% power hitters, and he relies on the home runs to win ball games. And that was his name. That was the name of his game. He told me, like, oh, I could use some speed in my lineup, maybe. I've got an outfield, but you obviously, like, nobody's spot is secure. You know, like, you can work for it and da da da. So when I told my parents, my dad said, like, you know, you're gonna have to work hard for your spot. You're gonna have to bust your butt. And I was like, yeah, I'm down for it. Like, this is what I want to do. So I went out in the parking lot and I called Coach Anderson. And I was like, hey, like, I'd love to play for you. Thank you so much for my offer. Like, I want to come be a meal rider. And he's like, okay. He sent me my paperwork over, signed it the next day, and we were packing up to move in 2 weeks later. So that was like a little rundown of, like, my recruiting process before my college career even started. I had signed 2 letters of intent before I'd even stepped on, like, a college campus for school yet, you know. So I get to Southern Arkansas. My freshman year is amazing. The best time of my life. I'm experiencing freedom for the first time, like everybody does their freshman year of college. I'm living up college life with my best friend and making so many more, like, super close friends, great teammates, everything. So I had a really successful freshman year of college softball. We were really good. We went all the way to the World Series that year. We made it all the way to the semis. I was living out my dream, guys. You know, when you're a kid, you see the World Series on TV, and you say, like, I want to be there. That's where I want to be one day. I was living that dream. I wasn't on a big D1 stage. I didn't care. It doesn't matter. I was at the D2 Women's College World Series my freshman year of college softball, and I was starting. So my freshman year, I worked my butt off, and after about 10 games into my freshman season, I ended up getting put in the outfield. My first ever college inning, I played right field, and I was crapping my pants, y'all. In my head, I'm like, oh, you know, freshmen, a lot of freshmen redshirt, they don't play. And I was completely cool with that. You know, I knew my role on the team. I was a cheerleader. I was there to encourage everybody else. And so I had an energy drink before this game because in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to play. I don't care if I get the jitters because I'm here to just be a hype man. And so, y'all, I, like, chugged this energy drink. And then, like, the third inning, y'all was just like, Saintignan, right field. And, y'all, my heart dropped. It's like, it's exactly where I wanted to be, and that's what I wanted to do, you know. But I didn't think I was getting in that game, and there wasn't anything, like, big that happened for him to pull the right fielder, you know. And so he hollered my name, and I hauled butt out there. I didn't get a ball, thank God, because I was so nervous, so anxious. Like, I was not set where my feet were. You know that saying, like, be where your feet are? I was not where my feet were. I was everywhere else, running through all these worst situations in my head. But after that game in right field, I got moved to center field, and I ended up being there the rest of the year. So about 10 games into my freshman year, I was a starter the whole rest of the year. We went 60-11, I think, my freshman year. Super successful. You know, living my life, living that dream that I've had since I was a kid. Well, fast forward to then my sophomore year, everything completely changed. The dynamic of the team was so off, completely spewed. I mean, I still have, like, a lot of close friends from Southern Arkansas, but the friendships weren't the same. The coaching my sophomore year completely shifted as well. And I mean, if you know Jason Anderson, you know he's a very, like, over the top, super hyped coach, and he yells a lot, which is fine if that's your style. So it never affected me much. Like, I've been yelled at and hounded my whole life in softball, you know. So growing up, I never, like, would crack under the pressure of coaches getting in my face, screaming at me and stuff like that. I didn't think that it would affect me bad, but my sophomore year was completely different. He changed the whole coaching, the way of coaching changed, the dynamic of the team, the want, the drive, everything changed, and it got to the point where I was not happy there anymore. I was not happy where I was not happy going and practicing every day. I started to really fall out of love with the game of softball, which is terrifying because for 15 years before that, softball has been the only thing keeping me going in life. That's my passion and that's what I've always wanted to do. So for somebody to come in and like single-handedly ruin that for me, I just got this voice in my head one day saying like, you need to go, you need to get out of here, there's better things for you somewhere else. That thought in my head just started carrying, and in my head I was like, it was so hard for me to even get here today. There's no way that I can make it anywhere else. It was just a really big battle with me mentally. And that first thought came into my head probably like the end of February of my sophomore season. And so all season, like I'm battling with this in my head, and I probably battled with it in my head for about a month before I even said anything to my parents about it. And so I've never been like a super emotional player, like negative emotions. And it's not even really negative emotions, but like crying or like mad anger, like I've always been the hype man, the super up, the super pumped, happy teammate. And so for me to start getting those feelings where I didn't want to play softball anymore, it really hurt and it was really hard to battle with. So one of the first preseason tournaments my sophomore year is whenever I felt the coaching change, like completely change, like dynamically and negatively, like just completely starting to impact the person and the player that I was. So just a little story from that tournament is we're playing this team. It's tied 0-0 in the last inning. And the coach in the dugout, she told me, she said, you're squeeze bunting and getting the runner on third in. Like you are squeeze bunting. And I was like, okay. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to squeeze. And for those of you that don't know what that means is I'm squaring around and bunting. I'm bunting the ball wherever it's pitched. It doesn't matter where, but I have to get it in play because the runner on third is full speed stealing home essentially. And if I don't get that ball down, they're either going to get thrown out, hit, or whatever. But the game was going to go into extra innings if I didn't get that squeeze down. Well, so I'm already not having a good tournament, which is fine. I can put down a bunt. I'm a stopper. I'm like, I can put down this bunt, no biggie. So I go up to bat, and Coach Anderson on third, he gives me a completely different sign. I think it was like, he like did both of his ears, which was not squeeze. I think it was like fake bunt steal or something like that, but completely different than what my coach in the dugout told me. So I was like, okay, maybe he saw something different and he wants to do this. And I feel like I was in the right to think that because I'm thinking, he's a head coach. He has overcall on this. So I go to fake bunt and I pull it back, but he told the runner on third, like, you're going. So she hauled butt to home. Thank God it was a pass ball that went under the catcher's legs, and we scored, and we won the game. He didn't care that we won that ball game, y'all. All he cared about is that I didn't put the bunt down and I didn't squeeze and I pulled back. So everybody's cheering like, "Woo, we just won the game," and he is like hauling butt down the third base line, just chewing me out for not putting that bunt down. And yes, he was my coach, and he had the right to yell at me and be upset with me. Yes, that's okay. But for him to come and do that to me and not be like, you're lucky we won that ball game, like you messed up, and I would have been like, look, like you gave me a different sign, so I thought this, I didn't know if you saw something else. He just came and was just ripping me a new one and would not stop. And this is out of line, but I'm so thankful for it. One of my teammates came out of the dugout and she was like, chill. Like pretty much just trying to calm him down because y'all, he was ripping me to the point where I went in the dugout. I was bawling, y'all, bawling my eyes out just because he like was ripping me so hard. Well, we met after the game in left field. Instead of saying like, hey, we managed to pull it out, even like on a bad day, we managed to make it happen. He sat there and he blamed me for that whole thing, just going at me in the whole team huddle. And then one of my teammates stepped up and she was like, Anderson, stop. You gave her the wrong sign, and was like completely on my side and just yelled back at him, which was out of line, yes. But I don't know, I felt like it needed to be done because he wasn't stopping. Like he was yelling at me to the point of no return. And like I was saying earlier, I'm not a crier, and that man had me absolutely bawling my eyes out. He ended up completely leaving the huddle, and one of the older girls, the same girl that yelled back at him, she got everybody calm down, whatever. We go back in the dugout to get our stuff cleaned up and packed up and ready to go, and I was just bawling, to the point where I was hyperventilating almost. But I felt just so bad and so down, such a terrible teammate, and I walked around to the back of the dugout, and I was just bawling my eyes out. And my mom came up to me, and she's hugging me, and she's like, "What's going on?" Which the people in the stands, they don't know that I was supposed to squeeze bunt. So my mom's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And that was the first time I said, "I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to play here anymore. I'm done." I was just really bad negative self-talk, but I was like, I'm done. I don't want to play softball anymore. I'm done. And so from then on is whenever the thought of transferring was really heavy in my mind and heart. My parents and I both realized that that was such a negative environment. I did not need to be there, and I needed to get out of there as soon as possible. And so I played the whole season. I didn't tell anybody on my team that I was transferring. I was in communication with an old GA from my freshman year who wasn't a coach anymore or anything, and just asking her the process of things, how it all worked, figuring out what I needed to do. And she's like, "Yeah, it's definitely in your best interest to go," just helping me out along the way. So now after my sophomore year, after regionals, I walked in his office during my exit meeting and told him I want my release. It's not I don't want to play here anymore. I told him that I wanted to transfer because Southern Arkansas didn't have the major for me that I truly wanted to do, which was true. I wanted to do a major that they didn't offer, which was true. Southern Arkansas didn't have the major that I wanted to graduate with, but I couldn't tell him that the reason I wanted to transfer was because of him and how negative he was and how much I hated how he coached and that I hated being a player for him because I was scared that he wasn't going to give me my release. He gave me my release. I get in the transfer portal. My old GA that I had been talking to about transferring, she told me, "When you get your release, let me know, and I'll reach out to some coaches and see what I can do." She played at the same school as my pitching coach now at Tarleton, and she reached out to her and just told her about me, whatever. And I emailed them. I came on a visit here at Tarleton State University, which when I was transferring here my junior year, it was still a Division II. So I was still staying in Division II. I didn't have any problem with that. I love Division II. I would if Tarleton never moved up to Division I and I was still in Division II, I'd be 100% happy with it. But I came on a visit to Tarleton, completely fell in love with it, y'all. Loved the campus, loved the school. They had the exact major that I wanted to do. Loved the coaches and the coaching staff right away. It was a complete 180 from what I had had before, and I was just so overwhelmed with emotion whenever I had talked to Coach Coomp and got my offer and everything. I knew immediately that this is where I wanted to be. I had gone on another visit or two during my transfer process, but I knew that Tarleton was exactly where I wanted to be. So my junior year, I'm playing left field for Tarleton and absolutely 100% loving my life. Completely happy with my decision to transfer. It's the absolute best decision I have made for myself. Tarleton was the best decision I made for my college softball career. Well, about halfway into the fall of my junior year, our head coach got me and two other girls that were in my same graduating class, and he was like, "Hey, the athletic department wants to move up to Division I next year. I just wanted to let y'all know because obviously that will be y'all's senior year, and we won't be able to go to postseason. I just wanted to let y'all know because it will be affecting y'all the most, and I completely understand if you want to leave, all this stuff." And I was like, "Good Lord, I just got here. I'm not trying to leave again, I'm man, I can't catch a break." Obviously, I was going to stay. I didn't want to transfer again, and I was like, okay, cool. I get to say that I'm a D1 athlete. I feel like I cheat coded my way into being a D1 athlete, but I was all for it. So my junior year was actually the first year that COVID hit, which we were going to play the rest of my junior year in Division II, obviously. And we had such a good team, y'all. I was like, we're going to the World Series, and we had a potential of winning the World Series. We had such a solid team. And I had been there before, so I was like, I know this team has what it takes to get there. Well, come March 8th or 9th, we play the number one team in the country who has gone undefeated up to this point. We had a doubleheader with them on a Saturday. We ended up double dipping them. We beat them twice in a row. We were the first loss on the record, and they were ranked number one. So that was huge for us. We had so much momentum going into the next week of ball games. We were so pumped. That was huge for our program. And then 3 days later, COVID came along and shut us down. COVID definitely robbed me and a lot of other girls from a lot. So the next year, NCAA decided to grant everybody an extra year of softball since COVID cut us off less than halfway through our season. And so I'm a senior in the classroom and a junior on the field. So I got the opportunity to be a D1 athlete for 2 years. So last year, first year D1, we're playing all these huge schools, OU, Houston, Oklahoma State, Baylor, the list goes on. I had an amazing, I made some amazing memories last year, and I'm so blessed. We obviously didn't win a lot of those games, but it was really cool to be playing against people that, I've looked up to for so long, and, you're scrolling through Twitter, and you're like, oh, she did this and she did that. She's this big, amazing softball player. I'm getting to play against them and, hit off some of the best pitchers in the country, hitting off Miranda Ellis and, O'Leary, getting to experience these awesome experiences. And so that was my first year D1 was last year. So I am heading into my final year of college softball as a Division I athlete. So in my 5-year college experience, I have gone from NAIA to D2 to D1, and I cannot say that I regret anything. I've never been happier. I'm so happy where I am. And that just also goes to show you there is no specific storyline that you have to follow as a college athlete. There is a place for everybody out there, and no matter how much you have to go through to get there, you're going to get there. And whether you play NAIA, whether you play Division III, whether you play Division II, Division I, you are a college athlete, and you have made it, and you are living out the dream that little you has always dreamed of for your whole life. You are making little you so proud. I can say that I have made little me beyond proud. If I could go back to that 9-year-old little girl and say, you're going to be a Division I softball player one day, I, as that 9-year-old little girl, would say, no, I'm not. I wouldn't believe myself. So personally, I've come a long way, and I love where I am. Everybody has a different college experience, and everybody has a different college story. But the last hour of me talking, that is my story, and that is what has molded me into the woman that I am today and the athlete that I am today. Everything that I've done and gone through is what motivates me every day to be the best player, teammate, person that I can be, and is what motivates me every day to do what I want to do and reach every one of my goals. So that's me. That's my college story. And if you've stuck around for this long, thank you so much. I promise the next few episodes are going to be so much more exciting. We're going to cover some really cool topics. The next episode is with Morgan Medford, a shortstop here at Tarleton State. And we're going to be going over the mental health effects on college athletes, how it affects us, what they do to help us, what they don't do to not help us, everything. It's going to be a really good episode. So I hope y'all stick around for that one and the rest of the episodes after that. Again, thank you so much. And you are listening to In the Box with me, Hallie Saintignan.